welcome everybody to our live Q&A. So today, Giselle and I will be talking about supplements. And before we get into the questions, this is something that I do want to say, because being in a professional sport, in a sport where there's testing from WADA, there's testing from like, you know, if you're in South Africa, it's Drug Free South Africa. It's very important to note that when you do want to do an international sport or a competitive sport which has got an international body like SASCOC, or you know, whichever international body you want to compete under, just make sure that every single thing that you put into your body, and not just supplementation, including medicines, certain creams, so your antibiotic creams and all of those things. I mean, sometimes athletes are a little bit oblivious and they don't actually realize that, you know, they've got an itch on their skin or a mosquito bite or something, and they get a cream from a pharmacy, and that cream can actually have a banned substance. So it's very important to note that, you know, if you do want to compete, make sure that everything you put into your body, it's clean. I mean, the best thing to do is, if you do use any supplements, is to get a supplement that actually supports anti-doping. So it would have either an anti-doping sticker or an informed sports sticker on it to say that every supplement has been tested and is clean. You know, that way you actually know that whatever you put into your body is safe. You know, I always say to people, you know, it's, you go into a supplement shop and, you know, there could be someone selling supplements to you, and they could be telling you that, no, all athletes use this, but it's, for instance, bodybuilders. And maybe bodybuilders, certain bodybuilding, you know, how can I say, bodybuilding bodies don't get tested, and they end up using that and they get tested positive for a pre-workout. So it's just so important for people to realize that, you know, even when we talk about supplements today, first do your own research and make sure that, like I said, honestly, whenever you speak to drug-free sport, or if you do those courses, they'll always tell you that everything you put into your mouth is at own risk.
Yeah, 100%. And, you know, I think rather just be safe than sorry, because, you know, at the end of the day, if you take something and it's unknowingly got a banned substance in, like you really didn't intend to take it, at the end of the day, saying something like that isn't going to fix the situation. I mean, I knew a professional MMA boxer who, that's exactly what happened. He they found a positive substance in his pre-workout, and he didn't know it, and that's unfortunately how it is. And even like you're saying, for medicines, I know even for especially asthma pumps, because they have things like cortisone in them. Speak to your doctor or your pulmonologist or whoever you're seeing, and tell them, you know, I am planning on competing here, at this level, whatever. And they actually have to end up writing a script for you so that you can hand that in to show that's what you take. So,
you know, actually, if you get a script from a doctor and you get tested, you still get tested positive. So you need to make sure that even before you've got that script, you must then go into your World Anti-Doping Association and actually go and apply first to get what they call a therapeutic exemption. And once you've been exempted by World Anti-Doping, then only can you get the product. So it's a big process to go through, but it's one of those things that if you do have your therapeutic exemption, you have it, and you've done the test. You know, like, I'm actually asthmatic, and I think you are also asthmatic also. And I mean, I used to go every 6 months or once a year. I had to go for these crazy amounts of tests. I had to get my therapeutic exemption. I mean, I've been tested by WADA since the age of 12. Literally at 12 years age, they rock up at your house at any time during the day. They've rocked up at my university while I'm writing exams, and they come and test you. So it's random testing, so you cannot run from it. It's one of those things that you have to be super mindful of, like you said, what you put into your body. And you can actually, there's websites, if you literally go and look at WADA, World Anti-Doping Association, on the internet, it will give you the list, the list that every single country uses for banned substances. And if you're also not sure, each and every country has an organization as well. So South Africa is Drug Free Sport South Africa. You know, the UK has their organization. USA has got USADA. So go and make sure, you know, you can actually, I've got a really good relationship with the Anti-Doping South Africa. And whenever I have any questions of if I'm sick and I have medications, I literally send through an email or send through a WhatsApp message, and they reply within, you know, the day or in minutes or hours, whatever, but they reply to you. And, you know, rather safe than sorry.
Yeah, 100%, because that could end your career, essentially.
Exactly.
So rather safe than sorry.
Yes, exactly. Okay, well, to get to our questions for today, for those of you that have joined us, okay, so when it comes to supplements, how important, Giselle, is it to take supplements? What are the most necessary ones to take, according to your opinion?
So I think it depends on your goals, and it depends on what you're training for and how intense your training is. If you are a recreational person and you're just looking for a healthy lifestyle, healthy everything, I don't think that supplements are essential then, specific ones. I'm very much, I believe in a lot of the natural stuff. So I believe that taking things like fish oils are just good for you, and magnesium, and, you know, all of that stuff to keep your body in balance. But if you're a recreational athlete and you're just looking to work out for fun, to keep moving, to be healthy, I don't necessarily think you need things like the creatine and, you know, the glutamines and stuff like that. I think that's leaning more towards if you are in competitive sports or, you know, high performance sports, power sports, if you're very goal driven. Because the reason being is that, so supplements are basically just nutrients, right, that you could technically get from food. So you need to make sure that you have a well-balanced diet before anything. There's no point in taking supplements and eating you fast foods and stuff every day. Like, that defeats the point. You want to make sure that you eat the right foods that can give you the right supplements, right? So for instance, like creatine is found in meat, and, you know, iron is found in leafy vegetables and things like that. The reality is, not a lot of people, not everyone eats like that, or not everyone is very mindful about, okay, I'm going to eat this meal because this has got these nutrients in, and, you know, mindful eating. So I would say nutrition comes first before anything. However, if you're a power athlete or a competitive athlete, you are putting your body under a lot of stress, a lot more stress than a recreational person or, you know, someone who's just doing it for fun. And because of that, you need to supplement your body in order to avoid injury, in order to avoid fatigue and burnout, and, you know, to perform well as well. Because at the end of the day, even though you can technically get these nutrients from food, you can't eat like 10,000 calories a day of healthy, good quality, nutrient-dense foods, which is why we then choose the supplements, right? We can't. It would be amazing if we could live off cereal, but we can't. And so if you fall into that category, I would definitely say that supplementation is important to, like I said, prevent injury, perform very well, meet your goals. And I would say the essential ones that I believe are essential, whether you are a power athlete, a strength athlete, an endurance athlete, is whey protein first, BCAAs, so all your amino acids, because the reason being is that you get a lot of amino acids from your body and from the foods that you eat, but you don't get all of them. So supplementing with that can, you know, complete the chain of amino acids. And then creatine, if you're looking for the strength and the power, you know, aspects of that. And I think even though you are taking supplements, I think still be very mindful about how you can get those nutrients from foods. So be mindful of, okay, you know, so for instance, for me, I take spirulina in my shake because I know it's high in iron and everything, and it's good for you. So even though I'm taking supplements, I'm still making sure I'm eating my leafy greens, you know, I'm eating my fish, all of that stuff, because I want to get it. You want to get it from as many natural sources as possible.
Yeah.
So I definitely say that. And then I'd say for recreational or especially sports performance, fish oils is like just amazing. You want to
Yeah.
keep your joints and everything as lubricated as possible, guys. Fish oils are the way to go. Magnesium,
I just want to add there, when it comes to your fish oils, there's a lot of cheap, useless fish oils out there. So you have to make sure that when it comes to the EPA and DHA value, you have to know your stuff. So
yes,
sometimes you spend a lot of money and you literally get a product that almost doesn't supplement your body at all. So again, when it comes to the fish oil, I definitely agree. I'm a big fish oil person, but there's so many scams and stuff out there also with fish oils and
yeah,
certain supplements that, yeah, you need to just make sure that it's got the exact values that you need
exactly. I
to get
think,
the efficiency.
with the supplementing companies, you have to be very mindful about what you're consuming, not just in terms of what we were saying earlier, about testing positive for PEDs and everything, but also you don't want to be wasting your money and buying things that don't work because supplements are expensive.
Yeah.
So I know I've read a lot about multivitamins. I have a lot of friends who are doctors and everything, and from what I've read and from what they've said, multivitamins
Oh
they
yeah.
reckon is a waste of time um, because they were just saying it just doesn't work. But the thing is, some supplement companies aren't going to say that because they can't. That's their product that they're selling. So I would just say, do your research, and when you research, don't just read the first thing that pops up on Google. Really do your research. Read academic journals, read
I was
experiment
thinking,
science,
yeah.
everything. That's the best place where you can get your information from. And then from that, form your own opinion of it. There's always going to be counter arguments and opposing opinions on things. Read as much as you can, form your own opinion, but just do the research before everything. So that's my take on it, Mona. I don't know what yours is.
I, Giselle, I agree 100% of what you said now, especially when it comes to, like you were saying, about getting, your nutrients in firstly through food. A lot of people think that supplement is a miracle product, and
Mhm.
supplement is not a miracle product. It is something that if your nutrition and your recovery is on key, supplements will help with the recovery. It's also it's one of those things where people think, oh, I want to use supplements for weight loss, and they eat all the junk food, and then they go and buy all the weight loss supplements that they can find. And at the end of the day, they are messing with their body, they're messing with their metabolism, they're wasting away money. It's one of those things that like you said, you have to be careful with, what supplements you get and actually knowing what's out there.
Mhm.
Yes, I do. I understand not everyone is going to go on the internet and go and read a ton of journal articles. So, the thing is, if you can just get the basic stuff, like you were saying, if you are doing it for, even if you're a recreational athlete and you actually want to, your sleeping is correct, you're consuming enough water, you're seeing sun, all of those things, then, get yourself an extra, a good quality whey protein. Make sure that, other things you take. I actually do believe in a very good multivitamin. Like you actually said, like a lot of multivitamins doesn't work. There's a lot of nonsense out there in the shops, and it's one thing I can say. If you walk into a massive supplement store, like even a Discount, I mean, in USA they've got other supplement stores, for instance. Like you walk in there and it's just millions of supplements, and no wonder most people are so confused. So they go to the salesperson, and the salesperson will 99.9% of the time they will sell the product they will get the most commission of.
Yeah.
That's the thing that you also have to really understand, that if that person gets the most commission, they will directly take you to that product if it's good or bad or whatever. So be mindful of that. Another supplement that I think it's an essential supplement, not just for athletes but for everyone out there, recreational athletes, even for people that don't really train, even maybe they do a bit of fitness, running, etc., is especially taking your vitamin D. And the thing is, a lot of people don't realize that they are deficient in vitamin D. And not so much during summertime, but your winter times. And it's one of those things, it helps with your nervous system, it helps with brain function, it helps with recovery, it helps with your skin, it helps with fatigue. So it's a thing that if you can get it naturally outside, sit outside for 15 to 20 minutes each day, obviously not the hottest time of the day, but go outside for a little bit. But if it comes to your winter time and you don't see sun for a couple of days, get yourself a really good vitamin D, supplement with that. You will be surprised at what amazing benefits it will actually have. And it's an easy thing to consume. And I don't think it's a thing that a lot of people actually realize is so essential. So yeah, that's probably my take. Yeah,
that's actually so interesting. Sorry, I'm just thinking that you said that, just my brain is now analyzing things. If you think about it, the sun is the main source of energy. Nothing in the world will be alive without sun, not just plants and trees and other animals. So if we're not getting sun, if we're not getting that vitamin D and everything, then there's obviously going to be a deficiency in that.
Yes,
so,
and also a thing that's actually real, and people don't even know this, and I can promise you, I actually went through this when I was in USA. You get weather-induced depression.
100%.
So people are in the UK, people are in USA, in South Africa, we are so lucky. We even see sun in the winter. But if you live in Europe or in USA, your winter is snow, and it's up to even minus 20 degrees Celsius. You don't see a drop of sun almost until it's full summertime. For 6 months out of the year, you barely see any sun at all. So you can imagine how deficient you actually get. So in USA, I didn't realize this. So I actually went to get my blood test. And I actually found out then that I was very deficient in vitamin D. I couldn't understand everything was on point. My recovery, my training, everything that you can think of, like that, how I would normally feel good, I was not feeling good. And I actually went to get a whole bunch of blood tests done to see, maybe there's something wrong. And we figured out that I was vitamin D deficient. And I actually had to supplement for, I can't remember how many days. I had to take up to like 10,000 IUs of vitamin D a day, just to almost boost my vitamin D levels again. And then basically go on to like maintenance after that to actually get my vitamin D levels sorted. So yeah.
Wow. No, 100%. And you were very right about the depression. I mean, that is actually a mental illness in the DSM-5 is weather-induced depression, and that's, I know, one of the biggest problems in England, because they don't see a lot of sun. And so guys, take your vitamin D. It'll make you a better athlete and a happier person.
Exactly.
Okay, Marina, second question. This is a very interesting question. Is there a replacement for PEDs, i.e. steroids? It's so easy to gravitate to. What is your take on steroids?
Okay. So firstly, I want to state, I do an Olympic sport, and I support 100% clean athletes. I can't even say 100%. I'm 1,000% against anti-doping. The reason also why is there's a lot of athletes, not just in weightlifting, but all sports out there, that are using steroids and hormonal enhancers and things like that to actually enhance their performance. And to be honest, there's no supplement in the world that will come close to your steroids, because that's why a lot of the top athletes, some of the world champions that's been fought, world record holders, not even athletes that are world champions, but athletes that are just insanely strong, that has used their steroids, or it pushes their body above the normal limits of what a human body can actually push it. And the thing is, when it comes to steroids, it's like, that question that I got, it's so interesting, because yes, it is extremely easy to gravitate to. I think more than ever, steroids is probably so easily to get hold of. It's easily available. People sell them in the schools, which is so sad, but there's school sports out there that I know for a fact. I know of the schools that their rugby boys have been tested positive. I know of powerlifters. I know of, like I said, tons of weightlifters, cyclists, even in the martial arts field. I know so many people that's been tested positive because they do think that, you know, this thing will give them the edge. Now, firstly, I'm 100% against it, because when it comes to your morals and your values, I personally feel that when you get to that number one position, to get to that position, you obviously, if you want to do it clean, it's going to take a lot more work, a lot more recovery. It's going to take, you know, your mental game must be on point. Literally every single thing, your nutrition, sleep, everything must be so 100% dialed in. And even that, if you get the athletes who do end up doping, they will have a bit of an enhanced effect over your natural abilities. But luckily out there, WADA has been really good with catching a lot of the doping athletes, which I'm so happy about, because it's, like I said, it's so hard for a clean athlete to compete against these athletes, knowing that, you know, they've been caught before, knowing that, you know, there is probably that something that they do take because of previous use. But it is something that unfortunately we have to accept for ourselves as a clean athlete, and you have to do your 100% best. So unfortunately, you can't just go and focus on those people who use dope. You have to play your game, and you have to make sure that, you know, what happens around you, it's external factors. You have to make sure that the things that you can control, and that means not taking steroids or your PEDs, like you need to make sure that you are clean. Everything that you do in your body, it's 100%, you know, to get there in a natural way. If there is athletes out there that do not do a sport that gets tested for, you know, your anabolic steroids or banned substances, my advice would be, if you do want to take these things, go and see a professional. Go and see a doctor. I don't mean go and see a professional bodybuilder or go and see a professional athlete that's used these things. I mean, go and see a doctor, someone that knows every single thing. He's in the medical field. You know, they know exactly the amounts the body can handle for your health benefits, because people don't actually realize the negative effects that steroids would actually have on your body when you buy these things under the counter. They think, oh, wow, you know, I want this. There's a lot of people out there that's like, wow, you know, I just want this new beach body look for the guys out there. There's actually a lot of athletes, even in CrossFit, I think you will be aware of as well, you know, that's been caught for doping. And they think, oh, you know, I just want to have, you know, increased endurance capacity. I want increased strength capacity, because CrossFit is also an extremely hard sport on the body, both when it comes to, you know, you have to be strong, your endurance have to be on point, and obviously your skill level with gymnastics. So your body takes a lot of wear and tear. So they think the shortcut is steroids, which is the shortcut. But at the end of the day, like, what are you doing to yourself for the future you? So when it comes to these products that you buy, I've heard a lot of stories of athletes. I personally know of people that use these under-the-counter products and are now sitting with heart problems for the rest of their lives. I know of athletes that use these products, male athletes, who have zero level of testosterone now, and they have to supplement from a doctor. A doctor's prescribing you now, obviously, the stuff, because they cannot have children, because the guy used so much steroids in his life with his bodybuilding that he was doing, that they cannot have children. So he has to now physically supplement with these hormones for the rest of his life. I mean, people think of the short term. They have these fingers on their eyes, and they think of the year now. They think, I want quick results, instead of thinking, you know, I want longevity in my sport. I want longevity in my lifestyle and being healthy. So they think, you know, I can still maybe cheat a bit with my food, etc. And I'll just take, some anabolic steroids, and I'll take a bit of this and I'll take a bit of that. And before you know it, they get addicted to it. There's also a lot of athletes who then undergo depression because when they do go off it, they feel extremely weak. So what they end up doing, they start taking again. So it's a vicious cycle with these athletes who tend to use these products, and they don't realize. And it's one of those things. They get addicted to the feeling. They get addicted to the product, and they get addicted to the feeling of feeling super strong all the time, looking good, people giving them compliments. I mean, if you do, for instance, bodybuilding, and and this is also a real thing. I mean, this is like an actual disease. Like if people tell you, wow, you look like you've gotten a bit smaller, it is the worst thing in the world. These people will go and stand in a mirror and look at themselves for hours, and just, they basically, they use such negative images and self-talk for themselves, because it's just one of those things that it does, in my opinion, it probably has no real benefit. So like I said, it's so easily available, but make the wiser choice and think of your life in 10 years time, 15 years time. If you don't do these things, or if you don't go and see a professional or a doctor to, first get their advice, like I said, if you're not a professional athlete, you could be messing up your life for good. So it's so important to make sure that you know a lot about what you put into your body. This is a chemical. It's a toxin. There's absolutely, in my opinion, I don't have any good things to say about it because I don't agree with it, like I said. But yeah, it's definitely, it's a topic out there that's a massive problem. And I think younger and younger kids or students or scholars are starting to use these products because it's so easily available, and people are starting to sell it because it's extra money for them. And for them, it's, it's not it's like, oh, I don't care if this person gets affected. I don't care if this person, battles in 20 years time. It won't come back to me. So they don't think of, what's going to happen with what actually they are doing now, like the long-term effects, for instance.
I agree 100%. I think, especially in the world we live in now, it's very instant gratification, very, very much so. And it's crazy, Mona, because you're literally saying the same things that I've believed in for a long time. I mean, at varsity, when we were doing sports psychology, one of our blocks was studying PEDs. And I mean, you just look at the negative side effects that they have, like you were saying, infertility, the growth of your organs and, heart problems. And at the end of the day, your athletic career is only so long.
Exactly.
It's not like, if you go into the corporate world or you're a business owner where that lifespan, it could be your whole life. It's not a long time, right, to compete at a high level. So I agree with you 100%. I think sometimes people that, they get so into it and they just want to be at the top and they want to be the best, and there's no forward thinking at all. What happens when you're X age and you retire and, that part of your life now is calmed down? And because the thing is that priorities always change and people's interests always change. It's never going to be the same for your whole life. Yeah. So when your priority changes from sports or, competitive sports or, whatever, to say having a family, shit. Like now I can't have a family because I was so into, taking this to reach the top. I've now jeopardized my future with my wife and, my potential children. Okay, cool. We get through that problem. We take, the hormone replacements, which again, like, you want to try and keep things as natural as possible. You don't want to be taking things that mess with your hormones and everything, because there's always going to be a side effect. It's like, I think it's a basic law of physics or science or something like that, where it's like every action has an equal and opposite reaction. I think I said it correctly. I'm sorry
Yeah.
if I didn't, guys. But you know, for everything that you do, there's always a reaction or a consequence. So say, okay, cool. It's fine, we got through that hurdle, we're having kids now. You reach the age of 50, your kids are however old, and you're now suffering heart problems. But you know, you want to live long enough to have grandchildren and stuff like that. And you're going to kick yourself, you know, when you get to that point and you realize, if only I didn't do this, the 75% of my life that I have
Yeah.
now after competing would have been different. So
Yeah.
I think definitely be mindful of that. You know, of the consequences, the long-standing consequences. You know, life is for the long term. It's the long
Yeah.
game. It's not the short game. You know, so definitely on that aspect. And you know, something I've always believed about doping and stuff is that, I don't know, this is just my opinion, like feel free to disagree, but I believe that if you are doping, you don't have the belief in yourself that you can achieve what you want on your own. You
Yeah.
feel like you need something to help you because either subconsciously you don't believe you're better than everyone else, or either subconsciously you believe everyone else is doping as well.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, it's not a physical problem, it's a psychological and mental problem. You need to address that because, like you said, if you start taking steroids, it's just a vicious cycle. I mean, I knew someone who was on a very high level of rugby and spoke to me about that exact same thing. You take it, you feel amazing, you're lifting all these weights, you're so strong, you're feeling on top of the world, and then you cycle off and you're not hitting the same numbers. And you think to yourself, like, oh shit, because it's actually not really you, right? You've got that added assistance. So for me, I think it stems very much from a mental thing. And like we've spoken about in our previous chats, at the end of the day, some of the things that separate the top athletes is their mental.
Yeah.
You know, so you want to hone in on that and fix that before you go to anything else for help because you're masking what the real problem is. That's just my opinion. I don't know, like obviously it's an opinion, so that's
Well,
yeah.
also the thing is, now because WADA has got all these latest new testing methods and things that they have to actually catch these athletes, they now, for the last, I can probably say for more than 10 years, they've been freezing samples. So whenever you do doping testing, they freeze your samples so that they take your samples then 10 years later and they test it. And there are so many Olympic champions. There's so many Olympic champions out there and world records holders that got tested positive from the 2012 Olympics and the 2016 Olympics. Now, in my opinion, you get to that point. Okay, I also do know that there's some athletes out there that their coaches is very much involved in this process.
Yeah, of course.
I believe the coach and every single athlete of mine, I ask them, what do you take? Because for me, it's very important to make sure that my athletes also know what they put into their body. And I, as the coach, know what my athletes put into their body. Because even as a coach, if your athletes use something and they do get tested positive, at the end of the day, the athlete and the coach is the one who gets affected. And when it comes also to some of the coaches out there that give their athletes illegal substances, it's a bit of a tough answer there. When they give these things, the athletes out there, and I know, you trust your coach, but make sure that, again, whatever you put into your mouth, you could trust your coach with everything, but ask your coach, what is this product that he is giving you? Tell him that you want to know exactly and to make sure. Tell him it's not that you don't trust him, but it's literally you want to make sure that whatever you put into your body is it's clean. I think the coaches are involved most of the time. It's 100% right there because there's a lot of countries out there that the countries rely on medals from the athletes at world championships, Olympic titles. Also, when it happens with the kids, it's the parents. That's also very true. A lot of times it is the parents with the kids because also with the parents, they want to have the star athlete. It's a very big problem. I know it's a big problem in South Africa as well, but it's a very big problem in the USA also, where the parents get so wrapped up in the kids' performances because they want the kids to also get scholarships, and they will do whatever it takes to help their kids to be number one, even if it means doing the illegal thing. And at the end of the day, they don't think that it could affect that kid's life for the rest of their life. I mean, there was a bunch of kids that was actually tested positive in weightlifting not too long ago. The case was actually, they caught them, I think about a year or 2 years ago, but it was kind of kept like on the down low. But I think it was a bunch of 12-year-olds and 13-year-olds of athletes that were tested creams, kind of thing, for injuries or for pain. But again, as the coaches out there, if you give your athletes stuff, firstly, the athletes need to know what you are giving them, but do your research as a coach. Make sure that, if your athlete has a bit of pain, you cannot give them a cortisone cream, because you will get tested positive if your athlete gets tested for, anti-doping. So this topic is so interesting. Like, it's honestly like we could probably chat for hours about it. And it's such a big problem in sport that I think, it's not even a problem that looks like it's going to be solved really soon. I mean, yes, they are starting to dial down on those athletes that are doping. And, like I said, they're catching the athletes from 2012 and 2016 Olympics. But at the end of the day, if number one, and this is what happened with some of the Olympic athletes, position 1, 2, and 3 got caught positive. So athlete number 4 or 5 that's clean, and even number 6 that's clean, that gets now their medal, say this is from 2012, so it's 8 years later. What missed opportunities did you not have because you were not on that podium because of doping athletes? So you are missing out on financial support, you're missing out on sponsorships, you're missing out on recognition. Getting your medal 8 years later does not give you the same recognition if you had to get it, at that time. So obviously with things getting better, so the athletes do get tested positive now a lot quicker, which is a good thing, but you still want sport to be like into such a level that if you go there as a clean athlete, you're against other clean athletes. And if there is anyone that's doping, they will get caught. So there's still people that try and bypass the system, but like I said, I do think that they are starting to dial down on it and starting to catch these athletes, which is, I mean, it's amazing news, because you don't want to compete against other athletes that don't, especially if you put in, like, I've been doing weightlifting for 20 years, and you put in literally blood, sweat, and tears. And also, like, those athletes who do tend to dope, the longevity in sport is not so long. So you'll also see some of those athletes will come and go very quickly. So they'll come, break world records, and either the next time you see them, they will be, because now they're scared of getting caught by anti-doping, so they lift like 30-40 kilograms less, or you don't see them at all.
Yeah, or they have horrific injuries.
Exactly, yeah. So yeah, that is my take on PEDs.
Interesting topic. Such an interesting topic.
Very, very. Okay, so we can probably move on to the next question. I probably think, we've almost spoken like 45 minutes about this topic. So go back to the supplement side of things. In your opinion, glutamine, yes or no? What is the relevance?
So I think, again, depending on what you do, why you do it, how intense you're training, I think that would determine or dictate whether or not you take it. If you're a recreational person, I don't think it's an essential thing. I don't think it's that necessary. If you compete quite hectically and you put a lot of strain on your body, I do think it's necessary for recovery. Again, it is a branch of amino acids, which, as we know from chatting previously, amino acids are very, very important for your body. So I think it depends on what you're doing, your activity level. Also, on that topic specifically, like we were saying earlier, just be very mindful when looking for supplements, because a lot of the times supplement companies will also batch things together. So they'll say you need this specific stack in order to look like this. You can't take this alone, can't take this alone, you need this stack. And they'll
Yes.
put things like the glutamine or what's that one that burns fat? Can't remember what it's called now. A lot of bodybuilders, the CLA, you know,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
things like that.
Yeah,
You
but I
can't take
remember
it.
that thing
Yeah,
used to be massive, like about 10 years ago. Like every single
exactly.
person needed to take CLA.
And if you didn't take it, you couldn't look the way you wanted to look or perform the way you wanted to perform. So just be mindful of those things. Something I personally like, it's what Biogen does with their whey proteins, is that they actually have those aminos in the protein. So it's
Okay.
almost like a stack, which for me works really well, because also at the end of the day, you don't want to be taking 20 supplements. You know, it's so time consuming, it's so expensive, and it's so unnecessary.
Yeah.
So glutamine, I would have it in a stack for me, in a whey protein stack. And also if you're training at a very high intensity,
Yeah.
I think.
Okay. So
Yeah, and you?
it's an interesting topic because I've tried to do a lot of research on this to look at journal articles and stuff like that. And glutamine is actually one of those products where they don't really find a lot of evidence that it works. So
Mm-hmm.
if there's athletes out there that you are on a budget, that's probably, if you do take glutamine, it's probably one of the first things that you can cut. They do say there is evidence out there or research that's been done that say that it does help with gut health.
Yes, I've
They
seen that
do,
as well.
so one thing they do say is they say that glutamine can have an amazing effect on the body when it comes to, muscle building or recovery, etc. But it needs to be taken with certain things, like some products need to be taken with glucose, certain products taken with, protein, for in order to actually have a better effect. But with glutamine itself, they don't really have a lot of evidence out there to actually stand by it that it's actually like an amazing product. So again, if you do want to take glutamine and you find that it does help, like I said, it's one of those products. Like I've tried it. I don't use it anymore. I basically used it on and off. I tried it because it was one of those products that like I got as part of also my sponsorship, and I wanted to see. I wanted to try things out. I wanted to see if these products actually do have an effect. Like I said, I do love to go and do a lot of research before I put things into my body, because at the end of the day, like, your body is your temple. So, if you just put a whole bunch of like things into your body and you don't even know what it actually does, or you can't take, 20 minutes to go and read up, an article with, like I said, not just on Google, but an actual research journal article on the actual product, you're taking shortcuts with your body. So make sure that you do know what it actually does. And if there's people out there that have used the product and it does work, then by all means use it. Like I said, it's one of those things that I found haven't really worked for me. There's a lot of supplements out there that I love, and it does work, and I definitely felt a massive difference. I mean, one thing is, like, if I use L-glutamine for myself for gut health, then I would definitely use it, because I'm actually a problem that because I'm allergic to a lot of products, and I suffer from gluten allergies, and I actually have a part of my colon that's basically almost like half paralyzed. So for me, when it comes to putting things into my body, it doesn't necessarily absorb the way it would maybe for a person whose colon was, working 100% properly. So I do take products that I know will, it will get absorbed properly. I'll feel the difference. I'll feel, the energy difference, the strength difference, yeah, and just overall health difference. I mean,
Yeah,
that's a thing, because as an athlete, at the end of the day, you're not going to perform at your best if you're not healthy.
healthy, 100%, 100%. How are we doing on time there, Mona?
10 minutes.
10
Or
minutes. Okay, cool.
say about 8 minutes to make it
8 minutes,
safe.
just to be
Yes.
safe, so we don't get kicked off.
Yes.
Um, okay, so we have 3 questions left. Okay, so let's see if we can do this in 8 minutes. She says as she rambles on talking about the time. Does does creatine make a difference?
100%. It's one of those supplements that I probably I live by. It's one of those supplements where if you actually go and look at it, it's probably one of the supplements who's got the most research behind it. So you know everything that's being said, and if you go and look at all these research that's been done for this product, almost all of them will come to the same conclusions. So at the end of the day, that means that the product does work. I was actually telling James earlier that I think I was about 10 or 11 when I won my first world championship in karate. I was on the cover of the newspaper, and on the second page, because many years later, I actually saw all my newspaper stuff at my father's house, and I was just browsing through it. And on the page after that was actually how bad creatine is for athletes. And I couldn't believe it. Like when I saw this many years later, obviously then I didn't care what was really in the newspaper. I was just so happy to know that you've made it and stuff like that. But then you see all this false information being thrown at people. And yes, I know maybe, when I was like 10 years old, okay, it's a long time ago, like more than 20 years ago. But, I understand then there wasn't a lot of research on, supplementation. And it wasn't like now where you can walk into a disc game and there's hundreds and thousands of supplements. I don't even think we had a disc game like up until like, I don't know, 10 years ago or something. I'm not even sure when disc game actually came. But disc game is for me, like, it's one of my favorite shops.
Right, it's the best.
So yes, creatine, not just for, elite level athletes, but there's also actually tons of research behind it that it is good for older individuals. It's good for younger individuals, even, kids in their teens and stuff like that. But again, if you do take creatine, make sure that it is pure creatine. It's not creatine plus 1,000 other products, because at the end of the day, you want to put the pure product into your system. And if you are a youngster, I would recommend that you speak to your coach about this before, again, you put anything into your body. But yes, when it comes to the research that's been done actually on how amazing creatine is one of those products that, I mean, when your energy is low, it replenishes your energy levels from, ADP to ATP. It helps with, muscle endurance. It helps with recovery. It helps with building lean mass. There's people out there who's like, creatine will make me fat. Oh, this game started in 1978. Wow.
Way before my time.
I didn't know it was in Port Elizabeth, though. I think he was a little bit behind. So I think we got this game probably last then.
Probably.
So, yeah, we didn't have this game when we were younger. But yes, so it's got so many amazing effects, and I don't just take creatine when I compete. I take it during when I'm busy recovering, if I've got my off season. There's, like I said, now there's there's research that's been done, like even older individuals, because the older you get, and I think this is such incredible information, because older individuals, the older you get, you tend to lose muscle mass. So creatine helps build lean muscle mass, and it helps increase strength. So taking creatine as an older individual actually has a ton of benefits. So if you go and look out there, there's actually research that's been done on 70 and 80-year-old individuals, and you'll actually check all the benefits and you'll be surprised. So it's one of those things that you don't even need to just take when you are competing at an elite level. Also, the latest research that's come out, or not maybe latest, probably been out for a while, but it's been put more into the public eye is how good creatine is actually for brain health. So even for people that suffer, memory problems, and for scholars that actually battle to study. So there's actually a lot of research now out that it actually helps with the nervous system and helping with brain function. So, like I said, it's actually now been proven that it's not just for that athlete out there that wants to, lift X amount of weight, or, wants to do X amount, when it comes to CrossFit or powerlifting, or even in sprinting, because obviously a lot of power explosive athletes, they are the ones that do take creatine. There's also a lot of stigma around creatine. A lot of people say, creatine makes them gain fat, or creatine makes them hold water. There probably is some people out there where the creatine does make them hold water. Again, you need to make sure that you put a pure product into your system. I've actually found that when I am on my competition prep, and when I train really hard with the creatine, because obviously in weightlifting we need to check our weight. I would gain lean muscle, but my weight actually drops. So the creatine helps, building lean muscle, and at the end of the day, it goes as like how can I say? It cuts fat. So that's what I've experienced. Like I said, when my athletes tell me they want to take creatine, I always just tell them, just make sure it's a pure product. They've had a lot of good benefits on it. I know tons of people out there. Like I said, if you don't trust my opinion or even Giselle's opinion, go out and go and do your research. Go and look up some journal articles, and you'll be surprised at the amazing things out there. And you'll also be surprised at how many products you buy that there's actually either very little research out there, or the research says that the product is actually it doesn't do anything. No good effects. So what is your take on creatine?
No, so I mean, you said everything. I don't think there's much I can add. I just think it's so amazing what you're talking about, the whole cognitive benefits of creatine, because especially with things like memory, like with Alzheimer's. Wait, do we have a question? So women can use creatine, and secondly, it's got similar effects on them as males.
Yes.
Yeah, it's the same. Yeah. So things like with Alzheimer's, for instance, it's the protein is breaking down. So it would make sense, and if you take creatine, that builds it up again, and you see assisting with brain health, which I didn't know. So that's absolutely amazing. And like I said earlier, I'm very much natural. I like my natural stuff. And again, the fact that you can find creatine in your meats and your fish and everything shows that, all your foods, it doesn't necessarily need to be meat, but shows that it's part of what, it's fine for us to consume. It's natural. It's normal. So
yeah. I actually do want to add something. Also, something I actually read in some of the articles that was super interesting for me. So vegetarians, actually, it was vegans or vegetarians, but anyways, because they don't get, and creatine mainly also comes in your meats. So because they do not get meat in their diet, they lack a lot of creatine. And they actually say that when vegans or vegetarians, one of them takes creatine, they actually have an almost better an effect, then you feel a much more of a strength effect than if, for instance, athletes that do, you consume your normal creatines and meat, etc. Okay, I'm rambling on now because I see we have 20 seconds.
Oh no, we got through one question.
I know, but guys, I just want to say thank you for joining us. Giselle, it's such an awesome chat, and it's one of those topics where we probably have tons more to talk about. But yes, feel free, guys, to answer or